Good morning. How are you all? I am here, well, healthy. So is my wife. So thank you those people who've been asking. We're here to do some math today. Sorry for the slight delay. You may have noticed the timer reset itself. It definitely wasn't me trying to quickly eat my toast. And that's not going to taunt me sitting there with half a bit of toast left. But never mind. We're here to learn about ordering things. Not online. I'm sure some of you are very good at that. But we're not here to order things online. We're ordering decimals and we're ordering fractions. So, I just wanted to let you know about some important information. Did you know a slice of apple pie in Jamaica is $2.50. In the Bahamas, it's $3, and in Trinidad and Tobago, it's $3.20. Just the pirates of the Caribbean. Speak to you soon. So, without further ado, and we don't want much ado, so let's try and limit the ado and go straight to the studio, where you will find a challenge. It's a countdown starter today. While I'm saying hello to everyone who has said hello to me in the chat, you have to get as close to the target as possible, or if you can even get there. Remember, don't just say what you've got. You've got to say either in the chat or below the video how you did it. If someone's already got there first and used your method, try and come up with a different method. Can you get there a different way? Can you maybe get there using all 6 numbers? You don't have to use all 6 numbers, but can you do it? And the other thing to remind you, please don't ask for things more than once in the chat, because if I can see it once, I can see it twice, and don't like spamming because it means that the chat scrolls too quickly. So, while you're getting cracking at that, let's say some hellos to Ellis and Sophie and Alicia. And Sharanya's here, and Iona's here. I hope your birthday was good. And Adeline's here. And Nitesh is here, and Vera's here. And Josh is here. Good morning, Josh. Good morning, Alvi. Good morning, Isaac Sharp. Good morning, Charity Mabuse. Thank you for all allowing me my toast delay. Good morning, Stanley. Good morning to anyone else who's here. Good morning, Isaac from St Ives. Good morning, Noah, Logan, Finley, and Toby and Wigan. Good morning, Alexander and Kira. In fact, good morning to you all. How are you getting on with the challenge is what I'm really wondering. How are people getting on? Has anyone got close? Has anyone got above 600 yet? This is what we really want to know. This is definitely not an opportunity for me to have another bite of toast. Good morning, Donny. Anyone else? Anyone got any things that they've that they want to ask? Oh, Murray Minecraft reckons he's there. That was I forget. Murray was Josh, I think, is it? 100 times 5. We do that first. That's 500 plus 25 plus 20 plus 5 plus 4 plus 9. That gives us 500 and 613. 613 is our first bid. 613. Can anyone get closer than Josh has got with his 613? I can tell you now, it is possible. So it is possible. And I shall tell you, if you don't want to know, cover your ears now or pause the video, because I'm now going to say what you can do is, I think the easiest way to do this is go over to here and write it down for you. So, we were trying to get 645, and we were allowed to use 100, a 5, a 75, a 20, a 4, a 5, and a 9. I've used the 5 twice there, haven't I? Well, look at this. What if I go 100 plus 20 plus 9 is 129. Why would I do that? Well, just so happens if you times that by 5, 645, boom, I have just dropped the pen. That is that's how we maths. There we go, smashed it. We mathsed it. There you go, boom. So going straight back to the studio where we can do, moving on, we're going to be looking at putting things in order today. It's important to be able to put things in order because we need to be able to say what's smallest, what's biggest, and being able to rank things is very useful mathematically. Whether that's talking about heights, weights, sizes, lengths, points, anything. And we're going to look specifically today at decimals and at fractions because when you're trying to do decimals, you need to make sure that you understand that the first decimal you come to is the most important. So the first decimal you come to is the decimal that is the tenths. So it's bigger than the next decimal. Hundredths are smaller. So the first one, because it's bigger, it has the most say in when we're ordering them. In a second, I'm going to show you an example, and then I'm going to do a couple more examples with you. That when you're doing this, the first number you come to is the most important. And so in order to help us, what I do is I line up the decimal points and then add something on. Let me show you. So here's a question. I've got to put all of these decimals in order. And so I need to find the smallest and the biggest. In order to do so, the first thing I do, as you can see in the left-hand side, is I add some zeros. You can see I've lined them all up above each other so the decimal points are in line. I then line up and add those. You can see now they're all 3 decimal places long. This makes the comparisons really easy because we can now think of the 200. It isn't 200, but we know if these were 3-digit numbers, 200 would be the smallest. It's important to remember this is not 4.200, this is 4.2. And in fact, you can't say 4.217. You're not allowed to say that. It has to be 4.217. But 4.200 would be the smallest. Then 4.217. What I do is I cross them out as I've done them. Then 4.230. Then 4.234. And finally 4.300 is the biggest. Now, if we look at it like that, it doesn't look like 4.3 is going to be the biggest. But it is, because as I said to you, the first decimal you come to is the most important. It's the one it has the most say. So that 3 has more of a say than all of the 2's do. And that's why, once we've added zeros, it becomes the biggest. I reckon we're going to probably want a couple more examples of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to fly across. You don't have to fly. You're allowed to walk slowly and sensibly. We're going to fly across to the whiteboard over here, where I shall do a couple more questions like this. I'd like us to rank 1.2, 1.7, 1.35, 1.95, and 1.04. Okay, so we're trying to put these in order. So the first thing I'm going to do is write them above each other. 1.2, 1.7, 1.35, 1.95, and 1.04. Now, you may find you don't even want to put these zeros in. I always put the zeros in to make it easier for me. But you could say, well, actually, 0, remember, this is the most important column. This is the column that has the most say. The 0 doesn't get much of a say at all. So the smallest, and always make it clear in your paper where the smallest and the largest is. Don't just assume that someone will know what you mean. Put a little arrow and some words saying it. I think the smallest here is going to be 1.04. And then I cross it out. The next smallest is 1.20. So I can then cross it out. Next one is 1.35. Cross it out. 1.70. And finally 1.95. Then, if you wanted to, you would be allowed to delete that 0 and delete that 0. You are allowed to do that at the end. Okay. Josh is saying he understands. Brilliant. Natasha's getting involved. And you're saying which one's the biggest and smallest. I like that because saying which one is the biggest and saying which one is the smallest is useful. Natasha's having a go at this one. Okay, brilliant. I think you may have lost 1.35 in your answer, Natasha, but you can see that we're trying to rank them, and a lot of you have done very, very well there. The next one I'm going to do is, I think I've got to remember, I've moved my photo to the other side of the screen, so I've got to remember I can now use this bit. I am going to try and rank 2.79, 2.97, 2.7, 2.9, 2.07, 2.09, and 2.079. I'm doing this because I wanted to use lots of 7s and 9s to show that it can look confusing, but actually, if we're careful, we don't need to panic. First thing I'm going to do is grab my green and add zeros on. Do-de-do. You have to sing a little song while you're adding zeros. Do-do-de-do-de-do-de-do. So we then look in the first column, because the first column is the most important. It has the biggest say. So I think the first thing that we're going to look at is the 2.0. 2.0 must be the smallest. Oh, before we can do that, we need to state which is our smallest end and which is our largest end. And anyone who's seen my bottom will know that I've got the largest end. Right, we've got 2.070, 2.090. No, Mr. Harris. Boo. 2.079, 2.090. Then cross them out to show that we've done them. Now we're looking at the I think it's the two 2.7s, that one and that one. Because remember, the 7s come first, so they're the ones that we look at first. 2.700, 2.790, and then they've been done. So I'm just left with the 2.9s, 2.900, and 2.970. You have to be careful. You start to sound a bit like a monkey after a while. You're going all the time, or 2.7 I'm going to rub out all the zeros at the end just to show that where the original question came from. You can see I don't need to put the zeros in at the end of the decimal, but we're just trying to rank smallest to largest. I'm checking for any questions. Sharanya says they understand. Charity, you're saying you're lost. That's absolutely brilliant that you're telling me, but you have to tell me how you're stuck. You have to ask a question. I can't help. It's not that I'm being difficult or annoying. I am frequently difficult and annoying, but you have to tell me how you're stuck. Because if you don't tell me how you're stuck, I can't help. Okay? So, please do try and ask me a question, and I'll try and do another example in a second that will hopefully help you out. So, let's go back. I've started saying so again. My sister won't like it. So, we've ordered decimals. That is decimal ordering, and we have put all the decimals in order. And Charity, I will go back and do another one if you ask a question, or feel free to rewind, watch the video again, and see if watching it through the second time explains to you how I was allowed to put zeros at the end, because zero means none. So if you've got none of something, it's the same as it just being blank. But we can put zeros in to help us. For some reason, my PowerPoint just decided to have a bit of a heart attack. I don't know why that was. I do apologise why it was flashing. So, we're now going to move on to ordering fractions. Now, when we're ordering fractions, you'll see from the picture, you're not allowed to do it if the denominators are different. You can only compare, because ordering is comparing. Let's be honest. If I'm asking you to stand in height order, first of all, it's going to be difficult because you're all in the live chat. But if you're standing in height order, you would need to compare yourself to every other person to be able to do that. I'm sorry I'm glitching, Natasha. Is my voice glitching as well, or is it just the screen? Someone's going to have to tell me. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to go through back to where I was doing the live bits. And hopefully you're back with me here. And we are looking to order fractions. For example, 2 thirds, 3, I don't really want to use 3, 2 thirds, 4 ninths, and 1 third. We cannot do anything with these because they are different at the bottom. So our first step has to be to make them all the same. And I do this by finding the first number, it's called the lowest common multiple, the first number that 3 and 9 go into. So we're looking for the first number they all go into. We've already got 4 ninths, so that stays the same. But in order to do that, to get the 3 to become a 9, we have to times by 3. And you are only allowed to do this, I'm going to look right in the camera here, you're only allowed to do this if you do the same thing to the top. Otherwise, you're changing the fraction. If we do the same to the top as we do to the bottom, we're not changing the fraction. So this gives us 3, 4 and 6 ninths. Just give you a second to process that. I wasn't allowed to because they were different on the bottom. So we make them the same on the bottom by doing the same to both the top and bottom of each fraction. When you do that, you don't change it. How come, Mr. Harris? How come it doesn't change fraction? I thought you might ask that, so I prepared how I was going to explain it. I hope you agree that this is 1 third. Do you all agree that that's 1 third? Observe what happens if I cut this whole plank of wood that is in thirds into thirds that way. That 1 third is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's also 3 ninths. They're the same. They are exact. We haven't changed the plank of wood. We just cut it into more bits. They are the same fraction. So this doesn't change. There is no change in the fraction. Just the numbers have changed a bit to help us. Because now you will notice they're 9, 9 and 9. Which means when we want to, we can go, 3 ninths must be the smallest, then 4 ninths, and then 6 ninths. And if you're a completionist, like I am a little bit, we can then go, so that means the original order must be 1 third, we go back to the original question, then 4 ninths, and then 2 thirds. Notice how I've gone back to the original question and turned them back again to show what that would be. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. Please remember, you have to ask each other the question. Natasha's been very helpful to Sophie. That's the sort of team. That's the sort of teamwork I'm hoping for. Sophie, rather than saying I don't understand fractions, which is brilliant that you're flagging it up, just let us know what your question is. How, why, what, where, when. That way we can help even more. Hopefully this is helpful. Feel free to ask us another question. All right, you're allowed to ask questions, and people are being very, very helpful. I really like the fact that you're interacting with each other and all helping each other out. Okay, the best thing I can think of is let's do another one. Again, you have to do the little singing, otherwise Mr. Harris won't be recognisable. What about this one? More fractions. Yes, more fractions. We're going to compare 1/2 to 3/16 to 4, not 4, no, I'm going to stick with 5/8 and 3/4, and we're going to have 7/8, and we're going to have 9/16. I have got 6 fractions. And so the first thing we do is go, uh-oh, they're all different on the bottom. So the first thing we have to do is we're going to have to do some conversions. And we need to find a number that the 2, 4, 8 and 16 are all go into that number. And I think the first number we need is 16. I might have deliberately chosen 16 so that it works nicely. 2 goes into 16. 8 goes into 16. 4 goes into 16. And 16 is 16. So the first thing I'm going to do is keep the ones that are already 16. I've got nothing to do with those. Just checking if there's any questions. Excellent, Tasha. They all go into 16. Excellent question. That's a brilliant question. What number do you know you're timesing it by? I love that you've said that. We know what we're timesing it by because we've identified that we are looking for 16. So we're now going to go along each row and go, I need 16 because 16 is the first number that all these numbers go into. How many 2s are 16? So I'm going to need to do times 8 and times 8. How many 8s make 16? I need to do times 2, so I need to do times 2. How many 4s? So I need to do times 4 and times 4 because we're trying to make 16. Times 2 and times 2. So we've got 8 over 16, 10 over 16, 12 over 16, and 14 over 16. Now it should be a case that we can go, we can put these in order now. The smallest is 3 over 16. Then we've got 8 over 16. Then we've got 9 over 16. Then 10 over 16. Then 12 over 16. That is beautiful writing, Mr. Harris. You should get some sort of award for the neatness of writing you do. And 14 over 16. So what we're going to do, I then like to go back again and go, okay, well that means this one was from the original, as was this one. This one I'm going to rewrite was 1/2. This one was 5/8. This one was 3/4. And this one was 7/8. That stayed the same. And that stayed the same. So all I've done in that last line is gone, well, these are the converted ones. So I'm going to go back to the original question. These were the original questions. That might be confusing for some people. Sorry for calling you Natasha. It's Maya. I do apologise. I'm trying to be as helpful as I can, but it's very difficult for me to remember people's names when they have when they write down have a different name. One thing you can do every time you type, if you program it in Maya so that it says Maya : so if you have it in the text, so it says Maya : and then say what you want to say, I will always know that it's Maya speaking and I'll remember. And that's true for anyone who's speaking to me in the live chat. If you write a writing and it's not your real name, if you just write, the first thing you write is your name and then you put a hyphen, like that. So I might write Mr. Harris ... That tells me that it's you writing rather than the name on the account. I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong name. I never like to. I think it can come across rude, but I assure you it's just an accident. Let's head back to the studio. I love that I call it a studio because it's very important, right? So that should show us what we're doing with these things. And that is what we've been talking about today in terms of ordering stuff. We've been trying to do ordering decimals, and we've been trying to order fractions. If either of them confuse you, go back and also ask questions in the comments below. Feel free to ask questions. I'll try and answer them. But also, as you've seen, some people like Maya also will help answer. So that is really, really useful because people will help each other and it creates a community. And that's what we're trying to do. I will warn you that obviously with things up in the air, my wife is well, I'm well, but I will warn you that if we have to go to hospital or anything, I have to at short notice put it on Facebook. So that's why I apologise for not being around earlier in the week. But hopefully we'll be here today and tomorrow. Next week not sure what's happening yet because I know my wife is supposed to be induced on Wednesday, which means she's going to be going into hospital to force the baby to arrive. So if it hasn't already arrived, there will be a bit of disruption from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. But I will deal with that when I come to it. Thank you so much for joining my video. today's challenge, you've got the ordering decimals worksheet in the description below. You've also got your Taskmaster challenge, which is making a friendly note out of cutting out letters from newspapers or magazines. Each letter, are you going to write a message, a story, a letter? Is it going to be a fake ransom note? Ransom your teddies. Not necessarily teddies, it could be action men, Lego people. It could be like a Lego ransom note from one evil Lego prince to another evil Lego princess. I don't know whether there are princes and princesses in Lego. Anyway, that's what you're going to be doing. And that has been Mr. Harris. I've been Mr. Harris. You haven't. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have learned something today, or if you have enjoyed it, consider liking, consider subscribing, and consider persuading your parents to share my things on Facebook so that more people can get access to it. It's lovely working with you all. Take care of yourselves. Speak to you soon.